City Council tonight. Want to welcome everyone that's here in our chambers. We appreciate it. We got a full house tonight, and we love seeing that many people here. And welcome all those who are out in TV land. All right, to get started, I've asked Richard Johnson to come and give us a little motivational talk and prayer. If he'd come on up here and address us. Just face us, because then the TV, so the 4 million people who are watching can see your face.
First off, I'd like to thank all of you for your service. It's a real privilege to be able to serve the public from an elected position. It's too bad everybody doesn't have that opportunity, but you're to be commended to be able to work together and do all the fine things you do for the city, and I'd like to just thank all of you for that. The other thing I'd like to just say to you is that we're having a Freedom Walk this next week. We'd like to invite all of you to come to our Freedom Walk at the volunteer field this next Monday and Tuesday. You're invited for breakfast, lunch, whatever time you have available to come down and participate with the kids and see that activity. It's very good. With that, I'd like to just offer a word of prayer for you. Our kind, righteous, eternal Heavenly Father, we're indeed thankful for the opportunity we have of living in this great land of America, in this great city of Spanish Fork, and have the freedoms that we are allowed to have in this great country. We're thankful for all the blessings Thou bestows upon us in this great environment and all the things that Thou provides us. We're indeed thankful for the opportunity of being citizens in a free country, and ask for Thy blessings to be upon our leaders, that they'll be inspired as they make the decisions in our behalf. We're indeed thankful for all that we have, and we say these things humbly in the name of Jesus Christ. Amen.
Amen. Thanks, Richard.
Thank you.
Just a side note there, Richard came to me a year or so ago, talk about this Freedom Walk, and he's been the one that's been carrying all the heavy lifting on this and got it started, and it's a cool thing, and I just want to thank you, Richard, for doing that, and look forward for this walk of life that keeps going on, teaches those young kids about our veterans. So thank you, Richard. All right, I've asked Councilman Argyle to lead us in the Pledge of Allegiance.
Will the audience please rise?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, just a quick note, Councilman Gordon is out of town, and so we're going to excuse him for not being here. Okay. Tyler, or Seth, who's taking this next one there? You got the Employee of the Quarter.
Thank you, Mayor. So I'd like to invite Kim Hall. I saw Kim. Where did Kim go? Oh, there you are. She just wanted to make an entrance. Hey, guys. Kim, come on up. So usually, whenever we do something for Kim, it's a surprise. And this time I decided to really surprise her and tell her why she was here. So she knows she's here because she's been voted by the employees as the Employee of the Quarter. Kim, just to tell you a short story about her dedication and giving her heart and soul to the city. Last week I was down at a conference and wasn't here at the office. One of the department directors had a job that was posted online and wasn't getting very good response, and so asked if we'd post it in another spot. And he texted Kim and I, and it was after hours, probably about 7 at night, and I was like, oh, well, that's nice of Kim to respond and say she'll take care of it. Well, she actually took care of it that night and had to come back to the city office for something, and she said, I had to go to the city office for something else, so I took care of that too. So Kim's always going above and beyond and exceeding expectations. I want to read one thing really quickly about Kim, and this is the nomination letter that was written about her. So it says, Kim constantly gives her heart and soul to Spanish Fork City. She has implemented a new applicant and employee onboarding software, trained the supervisors on how to use this software. She has also been continually striving to help employees on the city's health insurance complete the share requirements. This requires continual one-on-one contact and constant follow-up. Thanks to Kim's effort with our health insurance, the city's health insurance renewal came in at 2% and was originally supposed to be 4%. The first year of this new insurance, over 99% of our employees met all the requirements. Select Health, so this is really cool. So Select Health was so impressed at our percentages that they asked the city to present it at a couple of meetings where the CEO of Select Health and even Intermountain Healthcare was in attendance. And Kim is constantly helping the city to progress. So thanks to Kim, we have a lot of great benefits. Our employees are happy and smiling, so we're really grateful for Kim. And Kim, we'd like to give you this and tell you thanks for all you do. Oh, yeah. Kim, you have just 5 minutes, if you would. You just only 5 minutes. Speak. Take 5 minutes.
Before Kim runs away, can I just say a little something about Kim on a personal level? My youngest son dates her only daughter, and kudos to Kim for being a wonderful second mom. As everyone knows that has kids, it takes a tribe to raise your kids, and it takes a big tribe to raise our youngest. So, Kim, thank you.
Wow. Now it's all over. So, all right, she does a great job, and we appreciate her. We got some great employees here, and we're very fortunate to have the type of people that we have that work here at Spanish Fork, and those that have worked here at Spanish Fork. So we appreciate that. All right, I'm going to turn some time over to Chief Adams.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. I have a great privilege and honor tonight to present to the Atwood family, as well as those whom have served with Officer Kendall Wayne Atwood. You might recognize some faces in the audience today, faces of the Atwood family, as well as faces of those who have served Spanish Fork City on the police department. We have been working on this for quite some time, but let me kind of give you, I know that the council is all aware of this, but for those that don't know, let me kind of give you a little bit of a history about Officer Atwood and what had happened with him. He and I were actually hired from the same roster. We both applied at the same time back in 88? Not a long time ago. And he and I were both hired off of that roster. He came from the Price area, and me, of course, from Mapleton. But I had the opportunity to work for him for several years here in Spanish Fork, and he was fun to work with. Always had a sense of humor about him. But one of his assignments back in the day was the DARE. He was our first DARE officer. And you know how important it is for officers to develop a relationship with the community, especially the children. And Officer Atwood was able to be our first one and did a fantastic job at that and got us started right. There's a quote by a individual in life that says, if you start right, you go right, and you end right. And so we did that with our DARE program, and a lot of that falls on Kendall's shoulders. Back in 1999 in October, Kendall was on patrol. And while on patrol, he came across a vehicle that was parked in the parking lot of our Spanish Oaks golf course. There, he saw that the car was running, its lights were on, and so he pulled up behind it and trying to find out what their purpose was. This was after hours, of course, and nobody should be in the parking lot. Pulled up behind it and then approached the vehicle on foot. Finding nobody in the car, he decided that what he would do was to walk around the building, check the building out. As he was walking around one portion of the building, he was accosted by two individuals, one of them which had a steel rod in his hand. We believe that that rod or that pry bar was being used to break into the building. And Kendall, because of his actions and going there and seeking out those who would be burglarizing the building, stopped that, but caused them to assault him. He laid on the ground. There was not backup around at the time, but a passerby drove by, saw his vehicle there, felt like there was something wrong, so they stopped and then found Kendall laying on the ground and called dispatch and indicated we had an officer down that needed help. He was taken to the hospital and given care, but after several years of battling, the injuries that he sustained here and other things that were complicated because of the injuries that he sustained here, he passed away, and that was in 2002. So in 2002, then Chief Rosenbaum submitted his name to the federal agencies that help individual families that have officers who die in the line of duty, and they accepted his death as a death caused by a line of duty action. And so the family was recognized as being a family of a victim of an officer who died in the line of duty. When I became chief, I had gone to some training, and at this training, some individuals from the Utah Law Enforcement Memorial Board spoke, and they indicated what they were doing was going around trying to make sure that all those individuals who have died in the line of duty were not forgotten, that they were able to be recognized in some fashion so that people can see those who gave the ultimate sacrifice. And so I wrote up a letter indicating most of the things that I've indicated to you tonight, some other things, and basically sent a packet for them to review. And they reviewed that packet, and because of their desire to recognize others, Kendall was approved to be part of their Utah Memorial, Law Enforcement Memorial. And I've asked one of their board members to come today and talk to you a little bit about the Utah Law Enforcement Memorial, what they do, and their activities, and then he has something that he wants to share with you. So, Brian Clement.
Mayor, City Council, it's indeed an honor to stand before you and talk a little bit about what we do. We're a small little board. We've got 16 members. There's 10 executive board members, and there's 6 that stand below us that help us out. And our main goal is to go through history, and we've got a wonderful historian, Mr. Robert Kirby, who spends his day going through the historic newspapers of the great state of Utah. He's been known to find officers who've been killed in the line of duty as far back as the early 1900s. It wasn't long after we started doing the memorial wall that's down on the Capitol that we started looking for officers who may have been killed in the line of duty, but they don't quite fit our criteria. There's something in there that keeps them, and what it is it's the time that it takes for them to pass. So we started the honor wall, which is down at Post at Salt Lake Community College. Kendall's criteria, as I read through the packet and we voted on this, was very close to making it onto the memorial wall itself. I read through letters that were written by the great citizens of Spanish Fork about Kendall's actions as a law enforcement officer, how he impacted children that he came in contact with at the schools, and how wonderful Kendall was. It was indeed a great loss for this community when this occurred. I'm charged with standing over the honor wall. It's my job to find officers who meet this criteria, and I can tell you there are many, many more. It's sad, it's deplorable that we have to go through history and find these great people. But through the great work of the memorial and those members of our board, we're able to honor those families and to help them realize that Kendall's not forgotten. Chief Adams has made it very clear that Kendall is not forgotten. And it is our duty to make sure that the members of the honor wall and the 142 officers that were killed in the line of duty are never forgotten. They've paid the ultimate sacrifice. These are our brothers and our sisters. And it is my job to make sure that they are never forgotten. I'd like to take just a brief moment to present the family with a plaque that will go up at post so that every cadet and every graduating class will know who Kendall is, that they may take a little bit of Kendall with them on their next patrol. And it may just be what they need to remember to save their own lives. So if I can get a member of the Atwood family. Join us. Hi. On behalf of the Utah Law Enforcement Memorial, I'd like to present you with this plaque in the remembrance of Kendall. It is indeed a great honor to have read the history that I have on him and to understand what a great man that he is. And I will make sure through my lifetime that he will not be forgotten.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate you guys so much.
Thank you, sir.
Oh, thank you. And thank you so much. Oh, this is wonderful.
So this plaque that Brian's handed to Shauna here is actually going to be on his wall.
It'll be on the wall at Post down at Salt Lake Community College. There's a memorial down there as well that has all the officers that were killed in the line.
And so we didn't want Shauna and her family not to be without, so we made
Oh,
the same plaque for her and her family to
okay,
take.
wonderful. Okay. All right, so that one's.
Yeah.
We'll switch.
Switch.
Sorry.
No, that works great.
Thank you so much.
So just in closing, maybe I could mention, and I hope this wall does not get any bigger down at the police department, but we too will have a plaque duplicate to these others on a wall of our own in our police department, along with Officer Lawrence Penrod, who also died in the line of duty here in Spanish Fork some years ago. You might remember the story of him getting hit on Main Street by a car. But those two individuals will both be on our honor wall. Hope never to add to it. But we've asked our SFCN people, Travis Bourne specifically, to help us memorialize this in video and song. And in closing, if we could just watch that, and then this will be done.
When that old Wild West needed taming, a special breed was born, instilled with the courage to walk behind the stars and make us stand for the rights of man, knowing it could mean their life. But somebody had to draw the line between wrong and right. Nowadays it's not much different, just the uniforms have changed. Good folk need protecting, where evil still remains. So God bless all the women and men sworn to uphold the law, and thank Him for the fallen ones, the ones who gave it all. Walking behind the star, braving the line of fire, standing tall when duty calls, taking it down to the wire, from helping a newborn arrive in the seat of an old squad car, to putting the bad guys away, walking behind the star. They're putting the bad guys away, walking behind the star.
Appreciate you doing that and honoring one of our own and keeping that memory alive. We're grateful for the Atwood family for the sacrifice that Kendall made, and please know that he'll never be forgotten. We appreciate the service he's done for the Spanish Fork, and appreciate the family, and appreciate all those former officers that are here to support him. I look at over here, and there's a lot of people here that served on the police force and have retired, and thank you for your service, and thank you for being here tonight. Appreciate that. Okay, we'll move on to our meeting now. Well, yeah, everybody leave. The good stuff's starting.
Hey, can I say one thing? I noticed some of you taking videos of the video. That'll be on, that should be online. It'll at least be on part of council. So if you do want a copy of that, it'll. Oh, you did. Okay. All right.
Well, there you go. We'll give them a couple of minutes here to move out, and all those are out in the lobby that want to come in, any scouts and that, you're sure welcome to come in. Okay, let's go ahead with our public comments. If there's anyone here from the public that'd like to come up and address the mayor and the council, you're sure welcome. Hi, you know, they got to fight through here.
I think there's a whole scout group out there.
Is there a whole scout group? Yeah. Hey, come on in. First one in gets to talk. Hey, we appreciate the scout troop that comes. Look at that. Wow, that's an awesome looking group. What troop are you with? 82? Great. Well, we appreciate you here, being here. So, any of you'd like to come and talk to the mayor of the council? Oh, darn. Fakers. All right, seeing none. Council comments. Councilman Scobes.
Mayor, a couple things to report. Tomorrow we have our animal shelter board meeting. That'll be tomorrow morning. We'll talk about just projects they have going on. And then the only other thing, Tyler, if you'd bring up that picture. Yeah. This is the scene going on down at Spanish Fork High School this time of year. The third grade, this is the Hershey's track meet. Third grade did it, I think a day or two ago. Fourth grade, we did it today. Fifth, sixth, and so on from the elementary schools here in town. And what a neat opportunity. This picture doesn't even do justice to the kids that were screaming behind me, the kids that were down at the far end getting ready to start the 100 meters, and then the principals, parent volunteers, and stuff that were there. I have this just to be able to show, as the council, mayor and council, we have the unique opportunity to be able to be both citizens that receive benefit from the actions of city staff and city employees, as well as to be able to work directly with them, with their department heads and with these employees in working with the city budget and things like that. And so I have this picture just as one small snapshot in time of the many things that our city employees do. It may be a bit of a broken record. I know the council and the mayor has mentioned it tonight already, in fact. But as citizens, we all have our own particular jobs, whatever they may be. As you may have gathered from what I alluded to, I'm a school teacher with Nebo School District. We all have our own particular jobs, and we all do the best we can, or hopefully do the best we can within those jobs and those parameters. We go above and beyond and get our paychecks just the same. One thing that I want to be able to spotlight, though, is the city employee. They, too, receive a paycheck for the jobs that they do. This particular event, Karen Bradford, Paul Jameson, and just a small handful of others were responsible for, what was it, maybe upwards of 850 kids that were there today. And it ran smoothly. Within 5 hours, we were able to get through 50 meters, 100 meters, 200, 400, softball throw and long jump, as well as 400-meter relays for both boys and girls. No one was injured. They were able to get through. The kids had a great time, even a little bit of a sunburn when we thought it was going to be cold and perhaps rainy today. And just that small handful of city employees were able to pull off the volunteers, the coordination, and to get this taken care of. Tonight's a fitting tribute to Officer Atwood and our officers that in like fashion get a paycheck, do serve our community, but above and beyond the job that they do, they'll stop and help an injured animal, even though they're not a trained animal control officer. Karen, Paul, and others on the Parks and Rec department go above and beyond to help a kid find a lost mitt, something that may not be in their job or duty description. Our city engineer department, our light and power department, all the different employees that work on the streets, receive our utilities and things like that, really do an outstanding job above and beyond. I think the reason why I choose to spotlight this is simply because they do a job, and that is part of their job, but there's so much that they do that goes above and beyond that doesn't affect a bottom line. It doesn't affect a company trying to make a profit. The things that they do, as was mentioned with Kim Hall earlier this evening, the things that they do really are on their own time and benefit 40,000 people that live in this community. And the things that they do have nothing to do with profits, but really service and a quality of life that we enjoy here in Spanish Fork. So I wish to express tremendous gratitude, certainly today, Dale, if you will pass to Paul. Karen, they did a fantastic job as they have every year. It's a huge headache, I know it is, but really appreciate their efforts. And then to all the department heads, please accept our gratitude, certainly from me and I'm sure from the mayor and council, for each of your departments and the work that they certainly have been hired to do, but more importantly, the work that they go above and beyond to do for the service and benefit of 40,000 people. So thank you. That's all I have, Mayor.
Thank you. Councilman Mendenhall.
Thank you, Mayor. It was good to be with the rest of the council and the mayor and some city staff down at the Utah League of Cities and Towns Conference in St. George this last week. Always a good time to get together with other leaders from all over the state and talk about what works well, what doesn't work well. You come away from that stuff, though, also seeing that we have a lot of the best practices in Spanish Fork. As what Kira alluded to, there's a lot of people coming up to our assistant city manager and mayor and other people in the city because they hear that things are going pretty in Spanish Fork. It's always a good thing to learn, but also a good moment to feel a little proud of our hometown. I think we shine at that stuff. I want to give a quick Rotary update. Tyler, a bench. It's not the best picture of that bench. There's a beautiful river behind that bench, but whoever took that, I didn't take on the trail. But Seth, how many of these do you run by every single morning? On 7 or 8. Okay. Anybody ever been on the trail? Scouts, you guys go on the trail, right? So these benches were just recently put up and donated by the local Rotary Club. And so when you see those, make sure if you ever see anybody doing anything to them that you put a stop to it, right? Be good scouts and make sure that those are taken care of. But I sure appreciate the volunteer organizations in the city, and the Rotary is one that did this little act of kindness recently in putting some benches there. Because some of us can't run the whole 7 miles, Seth. Sometimes we have to sit down and take a break. So these will be
Not everybody did.
Yeah, not everybody. I don't even ride the bike that much. While we're talking about the trail leads by the golf course, which is looking great. If anybody's ever been up there, it's green right now with the springtime and everything, and that's the way they try to keep it. But Dallin Naulu takes care of that aspect of it in a great way. It's just looking beautiful. But all house edition, so I'm excited to do a ribbon cutting with that next week, right, Dale? And how many of you guys golf? Any of you play golf? So up there at the golf course, Ryan Reese is our PGA professional, and he's so humble he wouldn't come here tonight. Dale let me know. But him and the other golf professional that he's friends with a lot of them, but the one over in Payson, his name's Tracy Zobel, and they're pretty good friends. They played in a PGA section golf tournament this last week. And they were picked to be, 26th? Dale, is it? 21 out of 32 teams, kind of the preseason pick. They said, you guys will probably be 21st out of this field. Guess what? They proved them all wrong. They took first. So with Ryan Reese and Tracy, man, if you ever see him hit golf balls, you'll think, yeah, that guy could probably be first in a lot. But going up against other PGA professionals and winning at your own game is a cool thing. So I'd like to think I taught him everything he knew, right, on some of the tournaments we've played together in, but that would be a lie. Fun to have Ryan, such a good professional. Also, Tyler up there as assistant professional up there. Program he's got going on. If you guys that aren't already doing it, in June they're about to start the youth on the course, which is a great way to get your friends, kids your age, boys and girls, and just learn the game of golf better. And Tyler's actually got recognition, right, from the PGA for running that program. So we just have a lot of good things going on at the golf course. So get up there. Appreciate Mr. Johnson mentioned the Freedom Walk. My 11-year-old son will be participating in that. He was excited this week to go to that and got the history lesson from his grandpa, John, about my grandpa, about Lynn Mendenhall and his service in World War II. So we printed off a picture, and he'll be walking with that, and I sure appreciate those volunteers doing such a great job, because Nash didn't know anything about really about details about his grandpa in the war until last night, and his shared that with him. So that's how you pass that stuff down through the generations, and I'm grateful for that. It gives us an avenue to do that. That's all I have, Mayor. Thank you.
Great, thank you. Councilman Argal.
Thank you, Mayor. I just want to echo, recently we just went to the conference, the Utah League of City and Towns. This is such a great conference. We go there and they have all kinds of workshops, and they almost overload you. But we get so much information about what's going on in our state that concerns our city, what other things and issues that concern our city and that are coming up, and they keep us so well informed. It is a good experience to go down there and go to those classes and learn about the things that are happening in our state and hear about, as Councilman Mendenhall mentioned, you hear about other cities and towns, and of course Spanish Fork always stands above all the rest of them, so we know that, but it's good to hear that once in a while also. So grateful for that opportunity to do that. So thank you, Mayor. That's all I have.
All right, Councilmember Beck.
I just want to quickly thank Richard Johnson from the American Legion for coming in tonight and offering a prayer, and all of the time that him and some others are putting into this Freedom Walk. Last year was the first time that they did that, and it snowed on us. We're really hoping for a good day next Tuesday and Wednesday for all fifth graders in Spanish Fork and Salem. Their Youth City Council, next week they will have their end of year banquet. So a big shout out. There's about 60 youth that participate in that, and energy and talents all throughout the year, and they're a great youth. And if you have youth that are interested, 10th, 11th, and 12th graders, they are accepting applications, and you can get those applications at their high school. And the library is working on their summer reading program. Every year the library offers a program to encourage reading. This year's theme is Libraries Rock, and you can sign up in June, and they're going to have some great prizes in all age groups from youth to teenagers and adults. So no matter what your level of reading is, it's a great opportunity to go sign up and win some prizes for your reading efforts. And I see Heather Youd here from the director, and since Brandon's not here, Mayor, can I invite her up?
Oh, I don't know if Brandon will let you do that.
Well, he's not here, so
Oh,
Heather.
he's not here, then go ahead.
Heather, come on up. I'm assuming you have something to say.
I do.
Okay, good.
So, May is a crazy busy month for the chamber. So, the Patriot Walk, we hope you all can for breakfast or lunch, either of those days. Our golf tournament was supposed to be tomorrow. We're praying that it rains because we pushed it to next week. So if it doesn't rain, we're going to feel really bad. So, which is also going to push our ribbon cutting for the new clubhouse to next week as well. So we'll plan on that around 2:15-ish next week on the 9th. May 10th, we're doing a ribbon cutting for Walmart for their new pickup, I don't know what you'd call it, service that they offer. So hopefully you can attend that. That one's at noon. On May 12th will be our second annual Wolfsburg on Main at 10 a.m. It's our Volkswagen car show that we are partnering with the DT on Main in the city in doing. So it should be great. Hope you guys can all come out for that one. May 14th, we're doing Cassie's Cookies in Salem, a ribbon cutting for them. New networking luncheon is on the 16th. It will be at the Justice Center. We're having Equilibrium Fitness come and speak about the different services that they offer to different corporations as far as teaching nutrition and posture and that type of thing for business owners. On the 18th will be our very first Food Trucks on Main. The Chamber has partnered with the Food Truck League, and we are starting a food truck roundup, which will run starting May 18th, Friday night, and every Friday night through to fall. So this will partner with the Movies in the Park that we're moving to Friday nights as well. And the last thing I have, May 22nd, we are having a Valley Visioning Summit. We're partnering with all of the Utah County Chambers. This is basically a way for communities, people in the community and business owners within the community to voice how they would like to see the Valley change and grow. So if you want your input heard, you may want to register for that. It will be held at the Utah Valley Convention Center. So, and that's all I have.
Thanks,
Thank
Heather.
you, Heather. I would just like to quickly just say congratulations to Tabitha's Way. Yesterday was their big ribbon cutting. Now their third location. They opened originally in 2010, and we were talking about that earlier today, about some of us that were at their very first building, and as they've grown, they've needed space to feed in our community as well as surrounding communities. And Wendy and Jody Osborne, the owners of Tabitha's Way, just have big, generous hearts and really give back to those people that are in need of food and take things in through all their bins throughout the entire valley to have create that. So thank you, Tabitha's community, and that's everything.
Right. I've just got a couple of things. I just want to make a reminder, tomorrow evening is Kipling Davis Day. Tomorrow's that day. She went missing 20 years ago. It's not only to honor her, but to honor all those children that have gone missing throughout the state and throughout the country. Up at the cemetery. Just want to invite everyone that would like to come to that. Welcome to do that. Also, you know, we talk about how great our city is, and we all take a lot of pride in our city, and we want the best here in our city. Last week there was an incident that was very disturbing, and I think we as citizens, we need to know about it. There was some graffiti, and not only on some fences, but on some police cars, which upset me very much, because those policemen are out there, they're helping you, they're out there protecting you and your loved ones, and they're putting their lives on the hand. As you saw tonight, that one of the police officers here in Spanish Fork ended up passing away because he was out there protecting all of us. So I don't want this kind of stuff in our city, and I'm asking all the citizens to, if you see anything of this stuff going on, please report it. We don't need that in our city. We're better than that, and this is a great city, and all of us together, we can stop that. You know, there's just a select few out there that think it's kind of a neat thing to do, and it's not. So all of us, if you see that, scouts, if you see something like that, let your parents know, let them contact the police, and let's not let that happen again. So we appreciate all that the police do for us, and they're there for us. Okay, moving along, consent items.
I make a motion to approve the consent items.
Second?
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilmember Beck. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay, going in to have a public hearing on ordinance 09-18, 2018 impact fee enactment. No, we're going to let you talk first, and then we'll go into public. Hey, we know how to do this. Not our first one.
Okay, so every year we do the impact fees revision, and we do this so that projects that were fronted by developers the previous year can be added to the impact fee facilities plan. And can you zoom in a little bit on this
Yeah, you bet.
table? And so what this does is it allows for projects that only benefit the growth of the city. So projects that are needed for new homes, not necessarily for existing homes, pay the cost that it takes to bring them into Spanish Fork. It's unfair to make the existing residents pay for the new residents to come. So that's the philosophy behind impact fees. And the legislature passed a law saying that you could not collect impact fees for a project that were not on what's called the impact fee facilities plan. And so what we do is once a project is funded or bonded for, then we allow it to go on the impact fee facilities plan, because that's when we're certain that that project will be constructed. And so with the adjustments of the impact fee facilities plan, as well as some updates on land costs and some updates on construction costs, which really affects what projects cost. Here are what the new impact fees will be. This is a recommended amount. If you approve this, here's the current amount. Here's what they go up and down. If you can scroll down a little bit, Tyler, you can see the overall change. They're being proposed to go up about $1,000 from $9,678 to $10,693 per home, and a large part of that is the cost of construction has gone up a bit. And anyway, we would recommend that you approve these impact fees.
Entertain a motion to go into public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Scobes, a second by Councilman Argal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we're in a public hearing. Anyone that would like to come up and talk about this issue, you're welcome to come on up. State your name, rank, and serial number.
I'm Deanne Hewish from the Utah Valley Home Builders Association, and thank you for welcoming me, and I got a welcome today, too, from a couple of people to come down. And I just, first of all, wanted to say that we love working with Spanish Fork City. You see us as a partner in development and building, and not as the foe, because we're trying to bring great citizens like we already have in Spanish Fork. My dad actually graduated from this high school in 1938. And so, I know, he's from Leland. So anyway, some of the things that we looked at with your staff and your engineers, with Chris Thompson and Mike Clark, we went through all the different IFFPs together, and they're very welcoming and educating me on what they were looking at when they were changing it. You do it a little differently than other cities, but after I did the paradigm shift and saw what you were doing, we did welcome it. They were very accommodating on looking at some other numbers we suggested. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't, because there's all the reasoning, but the facts came through. And we did that. Our affordability is always on the top of our mind, like you heard today with the news announcement that came out from the Salt Lake Chamber. But we understand that we have to have costs paid. And so the only thing that I really don't like is when they keep comparing cities to cities, because it doesn't make sense. It doesn't matter what the other cities do. It matters what Spanish Fork does. And so as long as the numbers jive and they're right, they're correct, of course, everybody wants costs to stay down. Who doesn't? But we understand that. So I just wanted to compliment your staff and their willingness to listen to us and invite us in to look at the IFFP before you voted on it. And we don't have any huge complaints or anything like that. But just thank you for working with us.
Thank you for being a partner with us. That's we appreciate what the Home Builders Association does and for here in the Utah Valley, and thank you. Anyone else that'd like to come talk about it? If not, I'd entertain a motion to go out of closed public hearing.
So moved.
Second.
A motion by Councilmember Beck, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any questions or comments?
Chris, you said we're reviewing this on an annual basis. Is that how often we do that? I think that was said in one of our sessions that we were in, Seth, if you remember, we were in that. I think a lot of us were in that together, but some cities get behind not looking at this maybe often enough, and then you're trying to catch up to make sure your citizens that live in the city now aren't paying for new growth that's happening in your cities.
And I appreciated what Deanne said, not always comparing city to city. That it's not always the most productive, but my guess is that builders that go across multiple jurisdictions will find that sometimes impact fees are fairly outdated. Is that, that they haven't reviewed them maybe for a couple of years? Or is it more common that they do it every year? Sure, yeah. 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 They did, yeah. And so we find, I think the model that our engineering staff has put together to review it annually is the best, because it's as current as it can be. And if it goes down, it goes down. We're not necessarily in this game, right, to have this be, well, this doesn't fund the budget. This funds specific growth projects. So if it goes down, it goes down. If it goes up, it goes up. And we try very, very hard to keep it very objective, that the numbers are how the numbers should be, and they're not fudged in any way.
Right. There's nothing else. I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve Ordinance 918 2018 impact fee enactment.
Second.
Motion by Councilman Mendenhall.
Second.
Second by Councilman Scobes. This will be a roll call vote. Councilman Argal.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Scobes.
Aye.
Okay, that passes.
Deanne, before you leave, though, will you come back to the stand real fast? Just because, I know this is out of character, but I work at Utah Valley Magazine, and we publish the Utah Valley Parade of Homes magazine, which we're both frantically working on that right now. But will you just tell the residents how many homes in Spanish Fork this year? Is it just one, or are there two? Oh, and maybe you don't know.
Put her on the
sorry.
spot.
I just thought you would know.
Remember, that's Councilmember Beck.
I will let you know. Hold on here.
Okay, never mind.
The reason why I said that
Stop.
is because we just had one house drop. We're down to 33 homes.
So 33 homes.
Down to 33 homes.
June 4th.
June the 7th through the June 23rd. We're not open on Sundays and Mondays. Go to church. and
Go to
have
church, is
family
that what you
meeting.
said?
And so in Spanish Fork, there is actually 3 homes.
Does it say the builders on that?
No.
I don't dare ask any more questions. You may
I
sit
know
down.
one's arrived. I know one's arrived. I might have to get to it for that.
I know Ezra
And
Lee
I
is the
apologize.
second one, so between the
And
two of us.
Ezra Lee's, I hope you enjoy it. I love his
Oh, I
homes.
walked through it.
He's never been in Spanish Fork
No, he
before.
hasn't. It's an amazing house.
They are
It's
most-
very modern
they're
and
very
it's super
modern.
cool. Uh-huh.
They do all concrete floors everywhere. I know this sounds crazy, and they're beautiful. Last year they were in Provo, the year before in Traverse Mountain, very, very modern. But you know, the homes that we put in the Parade of Homes, price range or style or any of that, it's the homeowners, because they're owned by somebody. The homeowners and the builders, and the timing has to be right. And we promote affordability, and we promote and protect housing for Americans. And so the Parade of Homes is always this wonderful event that attracts a lot of people, so you can dream in that. But you can take something out of that. Doesn't mean you're going to build that house, but you know,
New hand towels sometimes. Sometimes that's what I come away with.
I do the kitchen
Get new hand
appliance.
towels.
Yeah, the kitchen, whatever.
That's
So,
inspiring.
but
You're
yeah,
not
we're
supposed
thrilled
to
be in
take those
Clinton
from the
in
house.
Spanish Fork. And then, you know, back to the impact fees. It's a 90-day period. I guess everybody knows that before they go into
Yeah,
effect.
it doesn't go into effect until August.
Yes, yeah.
Thanks, Deanne. Thanks for letting me
Thank
put
you.
you on the spot.
Sorry, if I would have opened up my paper or my letter, I could have told you.
The house that brought this was Spanish, but it's not.
Those Parade of Homes, I know as a contractor, and I'm not a residential contractor, but those guys put a lot of time and effort, and they're under a lot of pressure because they are trying to get those homes finished for that date. And so all the subs and that, they all go nuts, you know, leading up to that. So it's kind of crazy, but does a great service. I love them.
It provides about 20 scholarships every year.
Yes, yeah, it's a great deal, and we appreciate you. Okay, moving on. Let's go to new business. Resolution 1803, repealing the Water Division policy adopted by Resolution 9419.
And that's what this resolution does, is repeal the earlier one. So back in 1994, we adopted a resolution and basically set out our water policy. Since that time, we have updated it. We've put it in with our other policies. It's more accessible. It's more efficient. We really haven't followed this, and we realized that this was still hanging out there. We thought, just for clarity, we ought to repeal this. So we're just repealing the old outdated policy.
Any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I move that we approve Resolution 18-03, repealing the Water Division policy adopted by Resolution 94-19.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Scobes, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. This will be a roll call vote. Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Scobes.
Aye.
Councilman Argal.
Aye.
Passes. All right. Ordinance 10-18, amending the water transfer section of the utility title of the municipal code.
So this goes along with the impact fees that you just adopted. And in Title 13, when we talk about our water utility, we talk about a water transfer. We have a reference there to the impact fees. Our water transfer is, we pulled that from the impact fees and treat it with a separate analysis. And really, we address it in 2 places, here and in Title 15. So all this does is remove the sentence that references the impact fees. And that's why it's on tonight with the impact fee impactment ordinance. So we do recommend that you adopt this. This has some other things in it that haven't been changed, but the change is we took that sentence out.
Any questions? Not, I'd entertain a motion.
Motion to approve ordinance 1018, amending the water transfer section of the utilities title of the municipal code.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilmember Beck. This also will be a roll call vote. Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Scobes.
Aye.
Councilman Argal.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
That passes. Resolution 18-04, supporting a Water Smart grant for water conservation program.
Spanish Fork City is working really hard to do a large-scale water conservation program. This is a $1.2 million program. We have received funding for $600,000 of that program, so the first part of the program is underway and getting going. We will talk about that in City Council in about a month. But the second half of the program that we're hoping to do would require additional grant funds from the Bureau of Reclamation. And it's called the Water Smart Grant, and it has requirements that it provides savings in water, savings in cost, savings in electricity. And this is a resolution to approve that shows your support for us going after this funding.
Great. Any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion on that.
I'll make a motion to approve Resolution 18-4, supporting Water Smart Grant for Water Conservation Program.
Second.
Motion by Councilmember Beck, and second by Councilman Mendenhall. This is also be a roll call vote. Councilman Scobes.
Aye.
Councilman Argal.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
That passes. Metz Way Project Change Order 1 and 2.
Okay, the Commerce Way project is that road that runs back between the new movie theater and SAPA. And part of our agreement with SAPA and the development is to manage the construction of that road, which has multiple players involved. As we got going on the entrance into SAPA came to us and asked for some changes to be made here. Particularly, we had a bridge that was going to be constructed right here. They asked us if we could just do away with the bridge and extend some pipe that we were already extending here even further. And we looked at that. We felt like that's actually a better project. We also looked at some changes that they could make to the entrance here to accommodate semi-trucks and some vehicles. And so as we went through those changes, which we felt were important with all the growth in here, there was an initial change order that would be needed for $16,000. Since that part of the change order we felt like was more related to the changes made to SAPA's entrance and some work that we were already on the hook, if you will, to do, we felt like that $16,000 should be shared by the city and possibly the Canyon Creek developers, and so we're working on how that would be divided up. But SAPA then came to us and said they'd like to extend those pipes even further to make that opening wider, and they would be willing to pay for that, and that was, I believe, $48,000 for that, and that would be SAPA's responsibility to pay for that. But since the project was issued and is being managed by the city, we'd need to approve that change order as well.
Any questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve Commerce Way Project Change Orders 1 and 2.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Argal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? That passes. Cooperative Agreement, UDOT, Main Street Study.
We've discussed this project before with the council. You, in fact, have approved funding in the 2018 budget to pay for Spanish Fork's portion of this project. This project will not involve any construction, but just simply design work to let everybody know, all of the stakeholder parties, which mainly would be Spanish Fork City, UDOT, and to a lesser degree, I think UTA, all be on the same page relative to what the future Main Street will look like as construction projects come. Maybe it might be utility replacement projects or an asphalt rehabilitation project. If any of that work's done, we would expect that after this project is complete, improvements are made to the criteria provided with this design.
So again, I'm just trying to be clear that this does not involve any construction work now, but rather provides a vision for what things should look like in the future, with the understanding that likely that vision will be implemented incrementally as maybe different work on different parts of Main Street throughout the community occurs. We would hope that with this being done, we're all working again towards one goal at the end. We actually had a kickoff meeting for this project yesterday. I really appreciate Heather Yowd being there to represent the Chamber of Commerce, and Lance Wilson being there particularly to represent downtown business owners and operators. I think the project's going to be a little bit more intense than what I had initially anticipated, and I think we've got some things that we need to pay very close attention to relative to Spanish Fork and making sure that all of our interests are clearly represented as part of this project, because again, it's a collaborative effort, and particularly with UDOT owning Main Street, they have considerable say as to how that looks, how many travel lanes exist, how parking might be permitted to exist, and those sorts of things. Anyway, that's maybe part report and part description of the project, and we sure hope the council approves it.
Wow. Well, we'll see here in just a minute.
I have a quick question. How long would it, like, this process takes 1 year, right?
Yeah, the consultant wants to be done by November, which I think is a really important date. So, yeah,
Okay.
It's going to happen quickly.
And then the city isn't necessarily the sole decider of when it would start. It's a big factor of UDOT and UTA, right?
Yeah, and I think we typically don't make improvements to state roads. So we largely will be working with UDOT, maybe to encourage them to make improvements that might not be part of their typical maintenance plan, or otherwise to make sure that when they do routine maintenance work, or maybe when there's work that happens on city utilities that might be within the right-of-way, when anything's changed to that corridor, that it be changed in such a way to be consistent with the direction that this plan provides.
So that could be 5 years out.
No, honestly,
No,
I think
it
it's
would be
closer
sooner.
to 20
Okay.
before you actually see.
20?
Just to give you an example, American Fork, they've got a head start on us by 3 or 4 years with a very similar project done for a lot of the same reasons. That's been on the books now, I think, for a full 3 years, maybe closer to 4. And there's been no construction work that's happened yet. So maybe to kind of soften that blow a little bit. I think it has a lot more to do with making sure that we don't miss an opportunity when it does make sense to make a change, so that we're not haggling over different things over a long period of time. Hopefully everybody's on the same page. We're all working towards the same goal. And from a timing perspective, I guess I dream from time to time, and I do dream that maybe we'll find favor in the eyes of some representative, some level of government that might be higher than we operate at here, that might be able to uncover some funding for us or something. That has happened. So you might have noticed years ago, maybe 10 years ago, Springville City was able to do some things with their Main Street, a state route. Heber City's done things. Other communities on and off the Wasatch Front throughout Utah have been able to make use of some special funding sources to be able to do some of the things that I think will be included in this plan. So hopefully it won't take 20 years to see some of the bigger things happen. And it might be as simple as having bike racks installed downtown, or having lights replaced with a particular kind of street light, different things like that I'm sure would happen on a much faster time frame than that. But I don't want to build an expectation that we would see things change completely in 5 years or something like that.
But it's a rule book, basically, to play by for a 20-year period or so.
That's a line that I might use. I think that's a good way to put it.
It's a good one. You can use it.
Rule book.
I was over here thinking about it during the whole time you were
Everybody
talking.
has to play about it.
You
I think that's well
might
said.
get employee of the council tonight if you keep that up.
Can we highlight that comment at all? Yellow highlighter.
Mine, my comment, not his. Mine. Okay, good.
Good
We
enough.
need to liven this up somehow, huh?
Any other questions?
No, I think I'm good.
Thank you. All right, I'd entertain a motion.
Can I make the motion
Oh,
to
please
approve
do.
it? Yes, please.
You've
I'll
earned
make
it.
the motion to approve the cooperative agreement with UDOT for the Main Street study.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilmember Beck, a second by Councilman Argal, All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay. You got her there. All right, ordinance 11-18, amending the use of fireworks in the city.
So this ordinance comes about by virtue of some private events that we have had that caused some concern. I think one of them was at a football game at the high school, one of the high schools last fall, when fire marshal raised some concerns about perimeters for the class of fireworks that were being used. And we started the discussion about needing to put something into our code that sets some rules on these private events. So the state law authorizes them. Our code has been silent about private fireworks events. So as we all know, around the 4th of July, 24th of July, we can all have the smaller fireworks, but we have the big ones for the other events. We do that for Fiesta Days. Provo does it for their July 4th celebration. There's also some private entities that come along and want to do that, and the state code authorizes that. So after we had the concerns raised, there were taught that the legislature might make some changes. We thought, we don't want to do this twice. Let's wait and see what the legislature does. And they didn't really address anything in particular, so we're now ready to move forward with our ordinance. So what this does is picks up with where the state law leaves off for private fireworks events, and we specifically authorize them. We require a special events permit to do that, and then we have 5 requirements to get that permit. So first of all, they've got to be licensed by the state, or the operator does, for the class of fireworks they're shooting. So they have a class A, B, C, D fireworks generally. So they have to be licensed for the type of firework they'll discharge. They have to have liability insurance. Our insurance carrier requests $2 million, so that's what we build into our ordinance. We need to have a safe perimeter, and that will be determined by the public safety director or his designee, which might be the fire marshal. And of course, that will be based on the class of fireworks as well. Fire apparatus and personnel, so firefighters need to be on site in case the fire expands a little bit more than in the sky. We can take care of that. And lastly, the location, dates, and times need to be approved by the public safety director or the designee. So this just adds some protections in for the citizens if we have the private fireworks events, that we've got firefighters on hand, we've got a safe perimeter, we've got licensed operators, and things that just would make sense.
Is there a cost for this permit, or are they going to have to pay the
Mayor.
cost for?
There is a cost for the permit, and it says in here as established by the council in their annual budget. So when Ken gets the budget in a minute, that should be in there this year.
So would they have to pay for the fire truck and those people?
Yes, yes.
We're going to call you Mr. Scrooge one of these football games.
Always got to protect the citizens of the city, Mayor.
There you go.
Junior, how many events are there like that throughout the year that were?
There's not a lot. We had a group a few years ago that rented the fairgrounds and had a big fireworks event down there. We've got a group of neighbors who had a pretty big event, got bigger and bigger, and got big enough that we actually became kind of a sponsor with them. But occasionally you get some things like that. That was around the holidays when the smaller ones were legal, and this would allow them to go a little bit bigger if they were licensed. But we don't have a lot.
So those individuals that do it at the football game, if they could go to a certain type of fireworks, if they say under that, they can do some fireworks.
Well, if they're licensed, they can go as much as the state law will permit.
I understand that, but with the cost.
Well, the
I'm
cost-
sure those guys at the booster clubs down there at the football don't have a lot of money.
Yeah, the bigger shells can get expensive. So when they did the Olympics in Salt Lake, I understand that some of the really big shells they fired were upwards of $1,500 to $2,000 a shell. So that's a lot of money to get the really big ones. We're probably not going to have anything that size, even with the private activity. But we could be into $100 to $200, $250 for some of the bigger shots that we could see.
All right. Any other questions?
Mayor, is that your boat in the background?
Hey, you weren't supposed to say anything.
That's from the extra cheese, right?
Yeah, shit. What do you think all those signatures I've been doing for? So, yeah. All right, any other questions? If not, I'd entertain a motion.
I make a motion to approve ordinance 1118, amending the use of fireworks in the city.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Argal. Come back. It's a roll call vote. Councilman Argal.
Aye.
Councilmember Beck.
Aye.
Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Scobes.
Aye.
Okay. Ordinance 12-18, updating reference to the state construction code.
So while we were talking about the legislature, this is a cleanup ordinance to come into compliance with what the legislature did. And actually, they did it a few years ago. And it just keeps our building code in compliance with the state law. So at one time, the state required a state building code commission to select a nationally recognized international building code as the building code we would follow. That is all gone now, and they just reference to the state construction fire code is adopted in the state code. And so rather than try and change ours frequently, we're just going to reference the state code. Now, we did that before, then the state code changed, and we missed it for a couple of years. So this is a cleanup ordinance just to keep us in compliance.
Any questions?
Oh, I have a comment.
Oh.
I know, I'm kind of on one, but Scouts, do you guys notice that the mayor's not even voting on any of these? He thinks he has a lot of power, but he just gets to sit up here and talk. He doesn't even get a vote. But let's say...
Wow.
With Brandon missing tonight.
But you can see there's an empty chair down at the end, because that means one of our councilmen is gone. So the only way the mayor can vote is if, let's say, Kira and I are yes, and Mike and Chad are no, then the mayor could vote. I wonder how fun it would be if we had a split vote. Like, we've never had a split vote. I've been here for 2.5 years. I've never seen the mayor vote. I think it might be kind of fun. Kira, would you be willing to vote against this with me?
Stacy.
You poor Scouts, you're bored out of your mind. And am I the only fun thing here tonight? Jeez, if only I had
Oh
candy.
my God. All right, go ahead and make a motion there.
I'm gonna make a motion to not approve this. Here?
Yeah.
Yeah, it's got
Let me make it.
Yeah,
I'll make a motion to approve ordinance 1218, updating references to the state construction code.
Second.
Okay, I got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Argal. This is a roll call vote. Councilman Mendenhall.
Aye.
Councilman Scobes.
Nay.
Councilmember Beck.
Nay!
Councilman Argal.
Yay.
No, Chad!
He said yay.
Oh,
those two.
Relax.
I was gonna say, we just killed it!
We have a split vote, and
Is someone taking a picture?
this will be the first
mayor's
time
voting.
in 5 years. I was the mayor before, and now I'm the mayor now. This is historic, guys. You need to go write this down in your journal and say you were here. So the mayor votes yay.
Oh.
So that passes 3-2. Yeah, baby.
Stacy,
Yes.
he did vote for Seth. No, when we hired Seth, he did vote.
Oh, yeah, but that's not one of these things.
Yeah, that's true.
All right, now getting into the really good stuff. You thought that was good. Wait till we get to this one.
Oh, yes.
The tentative FY 2019 budget. Oh, yeah, you guys are going to love this. I know you'll be on the edge of your seats. Yeah. There you go.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much.
Hey, guys. Good work.
Thank you. Yep. Yeah, the Home Builders Association will be at your door tonight.
Well, it's either that or Brandon's jokes, and
I know, I
gotta leave.
I feel so much freedom without Brandon here.
And then they all leave.
They all leave.
I can be funny. I've never given that chance.
Hey, I'm glad we gave you that opportunity. We'll make a habit of it. All right, Seth, take it away.
Thank you. I'm a little bit nervous now. I fear a split vote.
Who knows what Stacy will say.
All right, so tonight on the agenda is the tentative budget for the fiscal year 2019. The budget is, the budget process is relatively simple, at least to those of us that live the budget. Every year we present, by law, we're required to present a tentative budget, which is what we're doing tonight. This is given to you, and from this point forward, it's now the council's budget if you want to make changes and do whatever you can to that. We are required by law to have a public hearing. We'll do that in June, and then adoption would come after that. So we'll have our budget public hearing is actually set for the first council meeting in June, and the residents are invited to come there. We will post this tentative budget on our website today, tonight, maybe tomorrow, by the time it gets out there, and the residents can certainly comb through it. It's a fantastic document full of 90-plus pages.
Thank you for the title page.
You mean the table of contents?
Table of contents.
Yeah, you're very welcome. Very
Kent,
welcome.
thank you. Or was it Seth?
It was Kent.
Okay.
So I'm going to spend a half hour, maybe 45 minutes going through each page.
No, you're not.
After Stacy lined everything up, you want to...
We can read this at home later.
Wow. See what I have to deal with?
Mayor, you told me to say that when he stood up.
Shh. I shaved my face for this. All right, I was going to throw some candy. I'll just ask you a couple of questions, then I'll just sit down, because apparently that's what we want to do. Budgets, honestly, it's a lot of fun. It sounds crazy to say. We spend a lot of time. Of course, we're in the budgets probably 10 out of the 12 months because of revisions and such. But the budget process that we have followed for the last couple of years, we invite, first of all, of course, the departments. Each of the departments with their division managers review all of their needs, and they put together their requests. And then Kent and I schedule what amounts to be about a week. Actually, it was about 5.5 days, where we spent just about the entire day, the majority of each day, in my office with each of the departments and their division managers reviewing area by area, request by request, certainly all of the major ones, discussing needs and identifying priorities. And we take away items that don't rise to the top, other things that need to be developed and time needs to mature. And what is left is what you have before you. We have something unique in here. We have 988, last year in 2017, we paid 988 unique individuals. So if anybody ever asks you, how many people work for Spanish Fork City last year in 2017, that answer is 988. Now, some of those people work 5 hours. They might be a referee one weekend. Some of them work 40 hours every week for a whole year, like a full-time employee. But ranging all of those different, I often call them different belly buttons, different unique people is what we pay. 988 last year. We have 204 full-time employees. Those are employees that receive benefits and work for us year-round. But if you take all of the hours that employees work, including the 5 hours that referee might have worked for us and the 40 hours a week that the full-time library employee works for us, we have over 302 what are called full-time equivalents that work for us. You take all the hours, add them up, divide it by 2,080, and the number of employees that shakes out of there is somewhere around 302. So that's the number of full-time equivalents that work for Spanish Fork City. That's page 1. All right, we'll move fast. This budget includes some really neat things, like Tyler identified Ms. Hall in her work with our Select Health Share and many others. we have saved over $675,000 in the last 3 years because of what we've done with Select Health Share. The nice thing about that is money that we will save forever, every year. Because it's a growth like this, rates, because we didn't go up for 3 years like we have in the past, our rates have increased by 4%, and now 2%. For the next 3 years, it'll only increase by 2.5%. We haven't seen rates like that since before I was born. Yeah, long time. And so we are saving a lot of money on that. Right now it's $675,000, and next year it'll be over $1 million. That collectively we have saved because our rates aren't doing what others have done. And that's our health insurance. This budget includes 9 new full-time positions. That's a huge number. And I want to make sure that we highlight that, not in a grand sense, but that are 9 new positions, 2 of which are funded by enterprise funds. One of those is funded 50% by the enterprise funds. We have 4 maintenance workers in recreation, parks and recreation, in the cemetery, the fairgrounds, and 2 in the parks. Both the cemetery and the fairgrounds are converting part-time hours to full-time hours, and so it's not quite a full new position, if you will, but we're adding about 15 hours a week, 10 to 15 hours a week per position. We have a parks project manager, a building inspector, an additional planner, and then we have a blue stakes technician and a water meter technician. Interestingly, we blue stake a lot. We have a lot of utilities in Spanish Fork, and we blue stake them all versus all the other cities. And we've been doing that with one, and it becomes really difficult to do anything else besides blue stake. And there are a lot of things that we need that individual who has an intimate knowledge of things to do. And so we have a second one, and that position is paid for in part by the utilities. I want to spend maybe the bulk of my time talking about 2 items affecting the general fund revenue. In the last legislative session, Senate Bill 235 for homeless, it was a bill to fund homeless shelters around the state. It had significant discussion in the legislative session. It occupied a lot of time, and especially a lot of time during the ending days of the session, trying to figure out how to fund different shelter projects. There are homeless resource centers and homeless shelters in Salt Lake County. There is one in St. George. There's one in Weber County and Ogden. I don't believe there's one in Provo or in Orem at this time. And so for those different areas that have shelters, they experience significant impacts. If you could imagine if there was a homeless shelter right next door to us, that shelter at nights especially would have a lot of people coming in. They don't have a place to stay. Sadly, a lot of those individuals are homeless because of drugs or other habits that have consumed their lives and made it so it's difficult for them to work. And so there are a lot of ancillary negative things that can happen around homeless shelters. Doesn't mean that they always do, but they certainly can. So cities such as Salt Lake, West Valley, Midvale, St. George, those areas that have shelters, 1, have a cost maybe if the city is operating that shelter, and 2, if they aren't operating the shelter, they might be having to put a higher police presence around that shelter to help maintain order and safekeeping. So the legislature, in their final decisions, decided that they would take $5 million from cities through our population portion of the sales tax revenue that we receive. So when you buy something at the store, there's sales tax. Of the 6.75% sales tax in Spanish Fork, 1% goes to us. Of that 1%, though, only half of that 1% actually comes to Spanish Fork. We call that the 50% point of sale. The other half of that 1% goes into a big pool of money called the state population portion of that sales tax. They're going to take $5 million out of that. 1.8% is what we can expect to lose this next year in our sales tax from the state, what we've been getting in the past. As you look at some of the new stores in Canyon Creek, and if you take Famous Footwear, Down East Home, and Petco and add those up, that's about what we'll lose. So 3 new stores that just opened up in Petco or in the Canyon Creek area, just kind of wiped them out with that bill. And we expect that number should go up every year, right? It's 1.8%. There's a cap at $200,000, but we're a long ways away from that. So we expect that number to go up every year as required by the state law. So that's a hit to our general fund.
You know how much now?
Sorry, did I not say that? About $65,600 is the estimate. Yeah, we'll know that as we go in further, but we're pretty confident around that $65,000. Sorry, I should have said that. The second thing is we have a growing need. Tyler, can you pull up that graph? We have a growing need for additional resources for public safety. And as we grow, we know that we have the need for additional emergency medical services, ambulance, and also for fire services. As we look at the history of sales tax, this is sales tax and property tax over the last 15 years. Sales tax is in red, property tax is in blue. So you see that property tax grows very, very steadily, and during the recession that was from 2008 to roughly 2011 and 12, you can see that property tax was growing ever so steadily and slowly. In Utah, property tax only grows with new growth. Our rate decreases every year. I know you understand that, but maybe the residents don't. Our rate every year goes down as our property values go up, so that the city's revenue from your home stays the same. As your house appreciates in value, the property tax stays the same, at least in theory. There's a little bit of change that happens individually with our properties because maybe my house appreciates faster than the average, or your house doesn't appreciate as fast. And so there is some reallocating that happens within the pie, if you will. But the theory is that our property tax rate goes down as values go up, giving the exact same dollar revenue to the city. And that's how it stays so stable. The increase comes from when a farm turns into a neighborhood, right? A farm has a value of $1,000 in property tax for the 80 acres, and then it's subdivided into 150 homes, all of which have a property tax that they'll pay of, say, $200. $200 times 80 is significantly more than 1,000, and so that's new growth. And that's what you see that growth growing from. That is not because our rate has gone up. In fact, our rate has gone down. Last year, our property tax rate went from 0.00103, I think it was, to 0.00095. And so we expect that this next year our property tax rate will go down again. Now, we have a need for, as I mentioned a moment ago, as we look to the future to fund public safety, fire and ambulance services, this budget proposes that we hold the property tax rate at the 0.9550. It also proposes that we take the money that generates, which we estimate to be about $145,000. The impact on residents of Spanish Fork will be, any guess? Anybody want to throw out a guess what the impact of that holding the rate will be and increasing $145,000 in revenue?
$10 a month.
How much?
10.
$10 a month.
Year.
$10, well, which one?
Year. $10 a year.
$10 a year? Okay, $10 a year. Anybody else want to throw out a guess?
84 cents per month.
Wow. Are you a banker?
Oh my gosh, did you cheat and go ahead?
He cheated.
You're brilliant, Mike. No, you're brilliant.
84 cents a month. That's the impact. 84 cents. What's 84 cents times 12? It's pretty close to 10. Both of you guys are brilliant. Both of you guys are brilliant. And so the impact on the residents would be 84 cents a month that you would expect to see that increase on the average bill. We propose in this budget that with that increase, that money be put immediately into a fire station capital project fund. As the council has discussed with us, we plan on, we have already acquired the land for a fire station. We're currently going through a process studying what that station needs to have, and this budgets for the design of a fire station. We plan on building that probably in the spring of 2020 and completing that in the fall of 2020, which means it would be budget year 2021. You take all the money from this year's increment if we hold the rate, and you times that by 3 years, we put all of that money into that that fire station account, roughly $145,000 times 3 years. It'd be about $435,000. The estimated cost we have for the fire station and all the equipment will be about $6 million. So that's not all that we'll need to build that fire station, but that's a portion of it. We plan on taking money from selling of a few different properties, as well as some money that we have put towards other projects that we will get reimbursement back from federal and state projects. And we can consider this same process next year and even the year after that. All told, our plan is to build that estimated $6 million facility with cash, without bonding for it.
Does that include the equipment too? Or is that this
Yeah, the $6 million, estimated $6 million today, that includes equipment. Now, we'll know better in maybe a couple of months when we know exactly what it is we're looking for, and the architects can use some of their cost estimators to give us a better look at it. But that's where we estimate right now. And it is not a cheap building, and as Ms. Hewish said, costs are not going down. So anything we can do, of course, in making that station be less expensive, we will do. But this budget, as I said, then proposes to hold the property tax rate. If you decide to do that, which we will talk about that more again in our June public hearing, we actually will not then approve this budget in June. We actually, by law, have to wait and hold what is called a truth and taxation hearing in August. And we would have to hold that hearing in coordination with other agencies around us that may be holding or raising their property tax rates and required to have a truth and taxation hearing. So we can't tell you exactly what date that would be, but it'd be sometime in mid-August that we would have that truth and taxation hearing. Any questions about that or anything I've talked about so far? I'm almost done, I really am. Yeah.
Relative to that,
thank you.
Tonight, when you adopt this tentative one, it will be the budget that will follow until the August one. So tonight's vote adopting this tentative puts the wheels in motion. And July 1st, we're going to follow this budget, and then it'll be formally adopted.
Yeah, if you choose then to continue with that, then this will be the operating budget. I don't know if TV land could hear what Kent said, but this will be the operating budget for the next for July and August until that full budget is approved. Last things I wanted to touch on are the rates and fees. This budget has two rate increases and one rate change. First one, the rate change, that's a funny way to say it, but you'll recall that in this calendar year, 2018, we changed our electric rate to have a tiered system, a tiered structure where the first 500 kilowatt hours are one rate, the second are a second rate, and every kilowatt hour after 1,000 kilowatt hours is a third rate. And we are increasing the base rate. We are raising the base rate and lowering the usage rate. The reason for that is, one, we don't want more money, where the rate is meant to be neutral, revenue neutral. But there is a problem that we created in our rate structure several years ago in having a very low base rate, and individuals that have solar panels on their homes, they ended up paying some months, many months out of the year, $3, $4 a month to be connected to and use our power grid. A power grid which a solar customer has to have. A solar customer has to have the power grid in order to power their home at night. They have to have a power grid in order to push excess power during the day when the sun's hot and generating power. Yet they were paying $3 a month for it. And our consultants, as they reviewed our rates, determined that they should be paying about $25 a month. So you and I, as a non-solar customer, were subsidizing those that have solar panels. We met with those individuals that have solar panels and heard from them loud and clear they didn't want to be subsidized. They also didn't necessarily want to pay more, but they understood the principle and didn't want to be subsidized. So together we worked through and identified this structure, and specifically for them, we proposed, as you remember, to implement this over 6 years. And so the rate change that this budget anticipates in February of 2019 will simply increase the base rate again and decrease the overall electric rate structure. So as we continue on this 6-year path, we will continually review our rates. If we find that our rates, the change that we have is creating too much revenue, then we will every year tweak that even down a little bit more. We're not trying to generate additional revenue. We're simply trying to make it so that you as a non-solar customer are not paying the share of a solar customer. The sewer rate is going up for the last of 3 times. The sewer rate is going up both in the base rate and in the usage per gallon. This is in anticipation of some federal changes that we have to meet. Our plant must be able to meet some phosphorus emission levels at 1 part per million or 1 milligram per liter by the year 2021. And our plant cannot do that today. And so this rate that we've been working 3 years now, increasing the rate slowly, we'll be able to do all the required changes to get us to be compliant at the sewer treatment plant. The last increase is in our storm drain, streets and storm drain fee. That goes from $8.45 to $9.82. We have spent a lot of money over the last 10, 15 years now improving our roads. And it's a great asset to the community. If you recall driving down our streets in 2006, 2007, it was like driving on a dirt road with washboards, and now they're the smoothest roads. Was that too dramatic? It was too dramatic?
Just a little bit.
Okay.
It's a little bit over the top, but Stacy set this tone for everybody, so it's okay.
Okay. All right, so anyways, driving down the roads, you had a bump here and there. No, it was pretty bad. We are committed to not losing what we have put into those roads, and so our maintenance program is intense, but also necessary to maintain the roads. We've also identified and have put off some deficiencies in our sidewalks, and this rate enables us to put some additional funds towards sidewalks. And we have years' worth of sidewalk improvements, right, Chris? Unfortunately, sidewalks are always getting ruined because trees push them up or other things happen. So we need to still be a tree city. We just deal with the after effects. A lot of capital projects, and many of them are highlighted in the budget letter. And one last thing I'll highlight, and then I'll be done. This budget has grown from last year. One of the main reasons why our budget has grown, and seemingly a lot, is because of carryover projects. So right now there's just under $5 million of carryover projects. What a carryover project is, we have budgeted for it in this budget year, but we're not going to get it done. You see, our construction season doesn't always match with our budget season. And so we start a project in May, we get the crews rolling, and we'll get one bill by the end of June. But maybe it's a $250,000 project, and so we have to carry that over. So we budgeted for it in this budget, and we're going to budget for it again next year, or maybe what remains, and that makes it look like our capital projects have really skyrocketed. But upon further review of the budget, you'll see that our actual expenses from year to year are significantly less than what you see in the tentative budget numbers and the numbers that we'll adopt eventually in August. And that's in large part because of the carryover projects, those items that we're working on completing, but we don't get to all the way. And so that's something that as residents look at the budget, they might say, holy smokes, your budget's growing out of control. And we can say it's not. However, it does appear inflated from year to year as you look at some of the numbers, simply because of those carryover projects. So our tentative budget, if you look at our FY, just on page 1, which isn't actually page 1, it's after the letter. It's probably page 8-ish or 9-ish, but page 1 of the budget. This year's budget that we're finishing, revision 2, is $93 million. You look at that last line. And our new budget is $97 million. We will not spend $97 million. In fact, I'll be surprised when all is said and done. I would wager we don't even spend $80 to $85 million. But the way we have to budget is, we have to put the whole amount in there. We're working on actually a couple of different methods where we can maybe do this a little bit differently, but it's hard to commit to a project, say a $2 million project, if you haven't committed to the $2 million project. So you're going to go to a contractor and say, we need to pay you, we need to contract for $2 million, but we've only budgeted $75,000. And we promise we're going to budget that also. It's really a difficult proposition, and so that's one of the reasons why we do what we do, but it sure makes the budget look bigger than it really is. And so if residents have concerns about that, certainly can walk through that with them and help them to understand the practices that we follow. And as I said, upon further review, you quickly can see the actual expenses from year to year don't add up to the budget amount, simply and in large part because these projects some of them take a long time. And as our electric department can tell you, they budgeted for some projects for 3 years, 4 years, and they just barely completed them. Actually, they aren't going to complete it this year even. They'll get a lot of it done in this budget year, but they still won't get it done all this year. So, and with that, I respectfully and gratefully submit the tentative budget for 2019 and express deep appreciation to the staff, the department heads and division managers and all employees for the work they do, their dedication, as many of you have highlighted today, and to you for the care you take in reviewing the budget and being involved. I invite you to, over the next month, sit down with me if you have any questions as you chew through the 95 or so pages. If you have questions, you want to tweak anything, please call. Let's sit down and go over it, and we will prepare for the budget public hearing in June. Any questions?
Great. So you've got your reading assignment for the next few months. I'd encourage you to look it over.
I'll forgo book club this month.
Yeah.
Read
Yeah.
the budget.
Well, this will be more exciting.
So one thing I failed to mention, sorry, even in the letter this morning, I made a note that I needed to add this and didn't get back to it. But this budget also has funds for an educational information campaign, if you will, for a RAP tax proposal. We've been discussing that. Just this past week, we received official confirmation, right? We got the official word back from the Utah County Commission that they are not going to put the RAP tax on the ballot. We expected that, right? But we needed that official confirmation. They obliged and gave us that this past week. So it's maybe $15,000 for educational information. We have proposed to have a couple of different meetings with the residents and sending out information with newsletters and things like that, informing them about what a RAP tax would be and what it could generate and what it could be spent on. If you're still of the same mindset, one of the steps we need to take is to have a resolution where we formally propose, and I don't want to get the wording right here, Kent or Junior, but the resolution that will then get the state to give us a ballot number. Petition the Lieutenant Governor's office to give us a proposition number. So if you're still of that mindset, we can propose, or we will have that ready for you to review at our next council meeting, and we can continue down that road with that.
Okay. All right.
Anything else you want to add before I just don't want to stop. This is so much fun.
I've noticed. Now we see why the scouts left.
Thanks.
All right. I'd entertain a motion to accept the tentative FY 2019 budget.
Motion to approve the 2019 tentative budget.
Second.
A motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Scobes. All in favor say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? It passes.
You're lucky.
Gotta love it. All right, board appointments. I would like to thank Jay Rinlesbacher, who served for 9 years on our senior board, and is going off, and so we need a new board appointment on that, and I would like to recommend Jerry Hansen appointed to the senior board.
Okay.
That's not how it works.
I make a motion, we accept the nomination of Jerry Hansen to the senior board.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Argal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Did you pay attention in any of those meetings down in St. George?
I think we need a refresher course.
Okay.
Okay, sounds good. Gotta get that little deeper voice there. Okay, we need to make a motion to adjourn to our redevelopment agency.
I move that we adjourn to redevelopment agency.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Scobes, a motion by Councilman Scobes, a second by Councilman Mendenhall. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All right, we are now in RDA.
So if you flip this massive document over, the last page has the redevelopment agency's budget for next year. The redevelopment agency has a few that are very active: the North Industrial Park, the Corona CRA, Wasatch Wind, and then a few others. I guess Sierra Bonita, we kicked that one out this year too, didn't we? So, and the Kirby Lane RDA. Those are doing a number of projects along Main Street, in and around SAPA or Hydro. You see a lot of work occurring in there, and that's funded in large part by the RDA. This is the tentative budget for that. I don't really have anything else to say about it.
Oh, wow, thank you. Any questions? Seeing none, I'd entertain a motion.
Make a motion to approve the tentative fiscal year 2019 RDA budget.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilmember Beck. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Make a motion to reconvene to city council meeting.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by
Second.
Councilman Argal. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
We're back in city council meeting.
I move we go into closed session for reasonably imminent litigation and land transaction.
Second.
Got a motion by Councilman Mendenhall, a second by Councilman Scobes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Okay. Thank you for everyone that was here. Everyone.
Would you like a cookie since you stayed?
Yeah, he should get a cookie for that.